Hello guys! So welcome to our, ilang topic na ba natin to? Anyway, 7 if I'm not mistaken. So welcome to lesson 7, Personal Management. So this personal management topic guys, technically, magkaiba sila eh. If I'm reading about it, magkaiba yung human resource management and personal management. Personal management daw is more traditional compared to human resource. But however, ito yung topic natin eh, personal management. For the sake of this topic, we will make personal management almost the same with human resource management, okay? So when we talk about personal management, it's all about the people, okay? All about the workforce. So, nabasa ko when they were contrasting personal management and human resource, personal management, they act as if the employees are just a workforce or tools sabi natin means to get the to achieve the objectives. However, human resource is ano daw siya, siguro parang mas they value the employees as team members, something like that. Pero for our topic, parang magkapareho lang sila. So personal management, it's obtaining, using, parang medyo, and maintaining a satisfied workforce. Yan, mas detached daw ang personal management eh. So you want to acquire your workforce, you want to use them to maximize their productivity, because if they're productive, the organization is also productive, and you want to maintain them, okay? So yung nahal mo, gusto mo magstay sila. You don't want any high turnover. Ibig sabihin maraming nagre-resign, okay? And you want them to be satisfied as much as possible. I'll be discussing personal management in the lenses of hiring frontliners rin. Gusto ko, I want to relate personal management to in relation to COVID, okay? So dito na-test ang management of people during the times of COVID, because you want your workforce to be satisfied and also healthy, right? But what happened during COVID times is that your personnel were getting sick, okay? So challenging to para sa mga personnel managers, yan, sa mga managers, line managers, sa mga supervisors, kasi nagkakasakit yung mga empleyado, okay? So that's the added challenge on personnel management during the time of COVID-19. So matindi. So other descriptions, definitions, personal management is planning, organizing, compensation. Parang doon lang nag-focus yung attention ko. Integration and maintenance of people for the purpose of contributing to the organizational, individual, and societal goals. Okay? So kung walang tao, guys, walang personnel, walang organization, di ba? Kung walang tao, walang society. Yan. And according to Breck, personal management is that part which is primarily organized, concerned with human resource of organization. Human resource of organization. So, yeah. Okay. Okay. So what is the nature of personnel management? So number one, personnel management includes the function of employment, development, and compensation. So anything that's related with your workforce, yan. How would you hire them, develop them, compensate them, give them incentives, part yan ng personnel management. It's an extension to general management. So not only you will manage how will you earn, di ba, by selling your products, your services, but these are important means nga, itong mga taong to, important means para ma-achieve yung goal, okay? So we have to manage people as well, okay? We not only manage the incentives, finances of the organization, but we also manage the people under the organization. Personnel management exists to advise and assist line managers in personnel matters. Example, during this time, maraming medtech na hire pero as contractual lang because they're still seeing if they could make this medtechs a permanent part of the organization kasi titingnan pa nila kung gaano katagal pa ang pandemic. So most probably, pag hindi na masyadong mataas talaga yung demand for COVID services, pwede silang tanggalin na yung mga contractor, something like that. Or back then, during nung mga kainitan talaga ng COVID, they need floaters, people who could come in at any time just in case someone gets sick, something like that. Number 4, personnel management lays emphasis on action rather than making lengthy schedules, plans, or work methods. So personnel management are more on the one who are speaking with the employees if they have problems that could not be solved by the line manager kung talagang may mga grievances sila, or if there are the need for disciplinary action, personnel management na ang mag-handle nan, but they will all base it on the policies. Okay? So may rules rin yan kung ano yung responsibility ng personnel, ng empleyado, at may responsibility rin yung employer, I mean. Yeah. So may responsibility rin sila. So example, they are responsible for paying the monthly payroll on time. Yeah, that's the responsibility, okay? So if the employee did not receive it, they could send their grievances to the personnel management or personnel manager, yung manager ng personnel management, okay? It tries to help workers to develop their potential fully. Yeah, so through training, through compensation, not only compensation, but through motivation, incentives. It also motivates the employee through its effective incentive plans so that employees provide fullest cooperation. So ang incentive rin, kanyari, example is maternal leave, di ba? If you, example, you give them health coverage, medical insurance, and so mas matutuwa yung mga employees kung gano'n. So, under personnel management, may boss sila, the personnel manager. So they are the head of the department. So they could provide assistance to top management. Yan. So if there are concerns with the policies involved, kung gusto i-revise, yan. Sa University of Baguio or in other corporations, guys, hindi basta-basta pwede palitan yung kunyari compensation ng employees, yung mga incentive nila, hindi pwede basta-basta bawasan because there is a union of employees. So there is a group of employees where they ensure that the rights of the employees are protected, something like that. So they could give advice to the top management. Yan. So ano ba yung mga needs ng mga personnel, ganyan. Kung may kakulungan ba, may i-revise sa policies and so on. Advises the line manager as staff specialist, yan, especially with the scheduling, ganyan, kunyari, promotion, something like that. And also as a counselor, taga-advise. They attend to the problems and grievances of the employees and guides them and try to solve them with their capacity. Yung kaya nila, pwede nilang tulungan. Okay? So, example, kunyari, itong si medtech, talagang matindi rin ang pangangailangan niya na, kailangan niya na mag-abroad, and he wants to ask the personnel manager, could I get a good recommendation letter? Yan, para maka-abroad ako, di ba? So, yun, they could help the employee. Yan. Personnel manager acts as a mediator. So, if there's a problem, or if there's something that they want to happen, so they are the mediator between the top management and the workers. Yan. So, minsan, since sila yung middleman, they go in between the workers and the managers. Minsan, yung top management nagde-demand sa personal manager, yung mga employee, yan, ayaw sundin yung sinabi ng top management. So there could be a tension between them. But yun, they would act as a middleman or mediator and acts as a spokesman. Since he is in direct contact of the employee, so they could be the spokesperson, diba? Representative of the employees. He is required to act as representative of organization in committees appointed by the government, and he represents company in training programs. Okay, that's good. So for our discussion for today, guys, we have 4 main functions of personnel management. We plan it. Yan. So anong gagawin natin sa workforce natin? We recruit them, we select them and train and develop them. Okay? So dyan iikot ang topic natin ngayon. And I think I'm going to divide this into 2. Okay? Kasi masyadong mahaba. This is 50 slides, about 50 slides and all. Let's begin with manpower planning, okay? Apparently, manpower planning is also called as human resource planning, okay? So we plan, okay? We think ahead of time. So what are we trying to plan? There should be the right number of people, the right kind of people at the right place, at the right time, doing the right things. Yan. So, ang maraming demands para sa human resource planning. Okay? Ano ba yung mga trabaho? Ilan ang kailangang tao dyan? Yan. Saan sila ilalagay? Yan. Anong gagawin nila? Diba? Once you place them there, do they need a supervisor? Or kailangan ba nila ng assistant to do that? For which they are suited for the achievement of the goals of organization. So this is a big job. Okay. So steps in manpower planning. May 4. Okay. So imagine you are the human resource planner. You're the personnel manager of a COVID ward. Yan, di ba? So, number 1, you have to analyze the current manpower inventory. So, ilan ba ang nagjo-duty sa COVID ward, di ba? Making future manpower forecast. What are you forecasting? Ano ba? So far, yung manpower mo ba needs training? Ganon? Sino ba? Sino ba dapat ang mga nandyan? Developing your employment program and design training programs. Yan. So, it's matindi tong manpower planning, especially during the time of COVID. Diba? Ang mga kalaban mong external factors, yun, nagkakasakit ng mga tao. Yung iba, low moral, yun, or natatakot sila out of fear. So, or gusto nila mag-abroad since there is increased opportunity to go abroad. Yan. So much things that are involved. So you have to plan ahead of time, okay? So matindi yung problema nitong mga personnel manager. So number 1, analyze the current manpower inventory. Okay? So to analyze it, you have to take note what's the type of organization. So iba ang planning sa fast food chain, or it's a small business lang naman, di ba? Mas madali. Unlike if it's a big hospital, the type of organization, the number of departments, number and quantity of such departments and employees in this working unit. Yan. So your planning will be based on these factors, okay? Once these factors are registered by Amahigos for the future forecasting. Yan. So making future forecasts. So meron dapat siyang short-term goals and long-term goals. Like, how should I plan 6 months from now? Yan. So hirap mag-forecast, especially during this time na very volatile. Okay, pero kailangan mong mag-forecast. Once the factors affecting the future manpower forecast are known, planning can be done for the future manpower requirements in several work units. Can I just tell you a story, guys? Interesting. Sa Baguio General Hospital. So my friend is a chemotherapy nurse. So she's assigned for so many years already as a chemotherapy nurse, okay? And now she's pregnant. Yan. And their plans, yan, hindi lang sa chemotherapy area, but in all the areas or departments in the Bengue in BGH, I mean, Baguio General Hospital, all the pregnant women will not be in contact with patients. Okay, patients, okay, they would not do intensive healthcare work. Hindi sila mag-interact sa patients, sa doctors. What they do, lahat ng mga buntis guys, dinadala nila sa hotline area. Hindi ko alam pangalan ng department. But what they do, yung mga buntis, sila ang tagasagot ng phone. Okay, they act as a receptionist for the meantime while they are pregnant. Yan. So, amazing, right? So, at least, di ba, yun yung plans nila. So, lahat ng buntis, okay, hindi ka mag-duty, dito muna kayo sa hotline area. Okay? So, pag nanganak na sila and they're ready to go back to work, they will go back to their departments. Okay? At ang papalit naman sa kanila yung mga next na buntis na naman. Yan. So, kunyari, itong friend ko, manganganak na siya sa April. So, yung manager doon, kailangan maghanap na ng ibang buntis. Kasi manganganak na siya. So, someone should replace her position in the hotline department. So, gano'n, yung mga tumatawag sa BGH, who needs assistance, they give free counseling, free check-up, and they give medical certificate through their hotline. Galing, no? So, yan. So, that's a way of forecasting eh. So, at least may plano sila sa lahat ng mga buntis. I think hindi lang buntis eh, para rin sa may mga disabilities. So, how do they do manpower forecasting? Number one is expert forecast. Yan. So, you get a panel of expert using Delphi technique. Yan. So, systematic way of getting on the feedback of different consultants, different experts. So how, kunyari, tanong ka sa mga expert kung ano nangyayari sa COVID, what do you think? Should I hire more medical technologists? What do you think? Or should I hire them as contractual only? O, di ba? And this includes informal decisions. And what else? We have trend analysis. Yan. So, basing on the trend, parang bumababa na yung mga cases of COVID. Yan. So, I think, pwede na natin i-close down yung COVID ward. Di ba? Parang ganun. So, madi-displace yung mga COVID nurses natin, COVID doctors, sa iba na natin sila lalagay. Ganun, di ba? Trend analysis. So, needs can be projected through extrapolation, projecting the past trends, indexation, basing on the recent year, and statistical analysis. Central tendency measure. Pag sinabi natin central tendency, we measure the mean, the mode, the standard deviations. Yan. Okay. So next, guys, so we forecast through trends, through experts. What else? We plan through what's the current workload. Yan. So marami pa ba yung pasyente na kailangang i-cater ng mga nurses at the moment or kumukonti na ba? Yan. So what's interesting, guys, about COVID is during COVID times talaga, it has put a great stress on the healthcare system. Pero ngayong pababa na yung mga cases ng COVID, guys, it's still pressing tension or pressure sa healthcare system. Why? Kasi yung mga hindi nagpa-check up for the last 2 years, yung mga na-miss, yung mga doctor's appointment, pwedeng lumala yung case nila, ganyan. So, may consequences yung COVID, okay? Since people were stuck at home, tumaas yung mental health cases, gano'n. So, ang raming consequence na. So, hindi pa bumababa yung pressure sa healthcare system, okay? So, there's still high workload despite the decreasing cases of COVID. Yan. So, workload analysis requires to find out the number and type of employees required to perform various jobs. So, na-overwhelm na ba? Workforce analysis. Analyze the existing workforce, how many of them are overburdened and underburdened. Yan. So pag workforce, yan, you measured if they, how burdened are they, yan. And workload, parang ganun na rin naman eh. Requires to find out the number and type of employees required to perform various jobs. Okay. Yan. Next, guys, developing employment programs. Okay. So part ng personnel, manpower planning, manpower planning. Yeah. So once the current inventory is compared, yeah, you know who are your workforce currently, your workload currently, and is compared to future forecast, the employment program can be framed and developed accordingly, which will include recruitment, selection, and placement. Okay. Yeah. So once now you will recruit them, select them, and where are you going to assign them? For designing training programs naman, so what are the training needs of the employees? Yan. So so if you're going to have a molecular lab, so you need to train the medtechs in the processes of molecular biology. Yan. So based upon the diversification, expansion, and development plans. So not only, kunyari, wala ka pang molecular, pero gusto mo 10 years from now, gusto mo rin ng nuclear laboratory. 10 years from now, gusto mo rin ng isang fertility clinic. Yan. So you will prepare. Prepare mo naman yung mga employees mo for those changes. Okay? So there should be training programs in place. So i-discuss na rin further yan mamaya. So number 5, what are number 5 importance of manpower planning. So it's important that you plan, you have to forecast, because number 1, so manpower enables all the functions, managerial functions to happen. Okay? So kailangan ng tao to lead, to control, to plan, to organize. Okay? So it's a key. It's an essential element para ma-achieve itong mga managerial functions. Next, it's important, what's my number 2? It's important for motivation. Yan. Your staffing should also have motivational program. So kasama rin yung pag-a-award, guys, ng Employee of the Month, Employee of the Year. Meron rin kaming Best Teacher of the Year, Best Researcher of the Year. And because it adds prestige, it adds motivation. Yung mga incentive plans mo could boost the morale of the employee. Yan. So actually part yan, okay? Ginagawa rin yan ng mga personnel management. Yan. So, anyway, it makes you feel good. Ganyan. Not only that, nagbibigay ng bonus sa mga empleyado. Yan. They feel like they're achieving something. So, it gives them, it increases their self-actualization. Kung naalala nyo sa Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Yan. You feel fulfilled. Ganyan. Nakaka-motivate. Yan. Parte rin pala yun, di ba? Yung pag-award nila. Amin, guys, isa rin sa mga pa-bonus ng UB, yun, yung may mga Christmas ham, pag Christmas, may mga bigas, mga pabigas ng UB, ganun. So, my mom is always looking forward to that. Better human relations when we have a good manpower planning, and because if you have placed the right person to the right position, yan, there could be harmony and cooperation among the people. Yan. Sabi niya, human relations becomes strong through effective control, clear communication, effective supervision, and leadership in a concern. Staffing function also looks after training and development of workforce, which leads to cooperation and better human relations. So if you plan your manpower well, if you assign them into correct positions, if you develop them, if you would train them, they could interact better to their co-workers. Okay, mas competent sila, mas well-adjusted sila. Higher productivity. Okay, so productivity level increases when resources are utilized in the best possible manner. So if kung may tamang planning, okay, there is less wastage of talent, di ba? Time, money, efforts, energy of talent, di ba? So if you have choose the right person on the right place them on the right position, you're not wasting their talent. So that's why we have performance evaluation. So performance evaluation, hindi lang yun para malaman kung anong mali mo. Pero if you do not have a good performance, perhaps pwede kang ilagay sa ibang posisyon, di ba? That's not your skill set. Or there's a need for further training. Di ba? Ganon. Kaya nakalagay ka sa receptionist at the moment, pero hindi ka pala talagang people person. So I think it's time that they would place you in a different department. So next is number 2, manpower planning. Next is recruitment. So we recruit, okay? So overall process of attracting, shortlisting, selecting, appointing suitable candidates for job, either permanent or temporary within an organization. So, paano tayo nagre-recruit or nag-hire? So, internal recruitment. So, they are already hired in the organization. Nasa ibang department lang sila. Or external recruitment. Yeah. So, internal. So, I think ito talaga yung priority muna. Especially if it's a high position. You want to internally recruit. Bigyan mo sila ng mas mataas na position. A recruitment which takes place within the organization already. Excuse me. So at least the people are already part of the organization, and ang advantage naman to, they already know the vision and the mission of the organization, okay? At ang advantage naman nito is perhaps you are aligning them to their gifts or talent, or you're giving them a challenge, or boosting their morale, pwede rin. So either you would transfer them, promote them, and re-employ of ex-employee, especially during this time, yung mga natanggal dahil mga na-retrench dahil sa COVID, yan, na-retrench sila. So, pwede rin silang i-rehire. Yan, kasi okay na yung ekonomiya, something like that. So, your transfers, you transfer them within or out of the department, but within the organization. Example, pwede rin, hindi lang department, example, region. Yan. So, if they are in the Baguio or Car region, diba, baka gusto nilang punta sa Australia. Di ba? Pwede mga ganun, di ba? Transfer mo sila sa Australia. Dito sila sa Philippines, you transfer them to the US department. Diba? Something like that. Promotions, yan, through internal job posting. And so perhaps people are interested for a higher position. They could send their letter of intent. Re-employment of ex-employees. And so the employees which were retrenched could be invited back. Okay. So interesting rin yun, di ba? External recruitment. So if they're from, yan, pag-aralan natin isa-isa. So, you're hiring people outside of the organization. So, they're not part of the organization yet. So, number 1, ito parang old school nito, employment at factory level. Example, so back then, guys, nung uso pa yung bulletin boards, and they would place hiring on the bulletin boards. This kind of recruitment is applicable generally where factory workers are to be appointed. Yan. So, parang hindi ko alam kung ginagawa pa rin na to, okay? So, the job vacancies are posted in the bulletin boards outside the factory. Okay? At the factory level naman kasi to. They do advertisements. Yan. So, actually, inad ko lang dito yung social media. But, yan, usually dito, dati, newspapers and television. So, now, in the internet, actually, di ba, ang rami na ngayon yung mga monster months, meron pa ba yun? Yung mga, maraming websites. At, meron din ako ng mga, sumali rin ako sa mga hiring. I forgot. Ito, Lina. Ano ba to? Jobstreet. Sorry. Yan, jobstreet.com. So you could advertise if there are hiring. It's an external source which has got an important place in recruitment. The biggest advantage of advertisement is that it covers a wide area of market. And that's the advantage is you could get different types of applicants. Yan. Kasi nga pag employment at factory level, so malamang yung people lang na malapit sa factory ang makakatingin nun. So now advertisement, example, Facebook advertisement. And you could get a variety of people. So, that's the advantage. You could get a variety of talents. So, on example, recently may napanood ako na she's not a computer science graduate or IT graduate. She's I think a political science graduate, but she was hired in Google. Yan. So sometimes in Google needs a variety of talents and people. Employment exchanges, example here in ASEAN. Yan. So they're planning that the ASEAN countries, Myanmar, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, Philippines, Thailand, Brunei, Malaysia, Singapore would exchange labor force. Employment exchanges that are run by the government yan, or by government agency. So, depende sa usapan ng ASEAN Summit, ganyan. Pero, yan, yung mga ganun. So, our government could interact with other governments like Japan, meron akong kitang ganun, that they would exchange employees. Yeah. Employment agencies, guys, especially, di ba, kung gusto nyo maging OFW, want to work abroad, there's nothing wrong with that, okay? So, ako naman talaga, kung pwede sa Pilipinas. Pero, iba talaga ang pangangailangan, di ba, ng bawat tao. So, why not, di ba? So, there are employment agencies, but you have to choose the right recruitment or employment agency, di ba? Maraming scammer or they're not taking care, or these agencies are not taking care of the recruited employees. So, yun rin, yung challenge nun ng mga OFW. Educational institutions, so they could have a campus recruitment. Yan. So they want to get fresh graduates from different institutions. In UB, they like getting HRM students from us because kasi doon kilala ang UB. Yan. So nag-hire yung mga direct hire yung mga hotels sa UB, ganyan. Ayan. But guys, sa medical technology naman yun, maraming nakipag-coordinate sa amin, yan. Especially yun, if sa mga graduates, sa mga alumni namin, we are sending, if there are hirings for medical technologies, PAMIT sends me, kailangan po namin ng medtech, ganyan. So we send it to the alumni who doesn't have work yet. And recommendations, yan. So, example, so ito yung advantage guys ng, alam nyo ba, ito. So, kung hindi naman sa ito lang. So, class friends nyo, yung mga teacher nyo, yung dean natin, and so on. Because, kasi if they know you, they would recommend you. Diba? One day, you're going to ask a recommendation from a teacher. And they will say, who you? Did I ever, were you ever my student? Diba? Paano ka i-recommend ako, hindi ka man lang nagpakilala ng buong college life nyo, diba? So guys, open your cameras, okay? Para makilala kayo ng teacher nyo. Paano ko kayo i-recommenda, diba? So guys, ganda yung performance nyo, okay? So, hindi naman kami nagbibigay ng bad recommendation sa mga estudyante namin. Pero when we personally know you, di ba, mas personalize yung recommendation letter. Okay, so, Yan. So, by recommendations. So, ayan guys, magpakitang gilas kayo. Do your best always so that your teachers will know you and will give you a good recommendation letter. Okay? We never give bad recommendation letter. We have a template recommendation letter. Pero mas maganda pag naging nakilala kayo, di ba? So the drawback of this is that company has to rely totally on such people which can later on prove to be inefficient. Minsan may mga nire-recommenda yung mga tao na hindi naman pala good. So that's the drawback. Next is selection. So ikat muna natin and I'll see you for the part 2.